and then we'll start from.
Awesome. Okay. Well, hi, everyone. Welcome to the March edition of the Open Security Summit. This is a meetup once a month for a while until the full physical summit happens. I'm Tanya Janca, and I am not your host, but I am your presenter. So I was going to talk to you today about building security champions. And I'm going to explain what those are. I'm going to explain how to do it. I'm going to explain how to have fun doing it, and basically why we do it, which is that we want to scale our security. So what are we actually going to talk about? How to scale your team and your security program, because I don't know about you, but it is impossible to hire security people right now. And I find there's always way more work than there are enough hours in the day. And so scaling will help us actually get way more done, but with the same number of people and not necessarily a lot more dollars spent. We're also going to talk about, so the way that I'm going to suggest that we do scaling of our program is by building a security champions team. And we're going to talk about what they are, how to build them up into champions, into people that can help the rest of their team get the security work done that their team needs to do. Throughout this entire talk, we're going to follow this recipe. So I'm going to basically explain one of them, then we're going to come back to the recipe, explain another one, come back, because I like you to know where we are in the process, and also because I enjoy having a map of my talk, if that makes any sense, to help people understand all the steps. So the recipe, we're going to recruit people, and by that I mean we're going to attract them. We are going to engage them, so make them interested and excited. Then we're going to teach them all the things that they need to know to be a good champion. Then we're going to recognize and reward them. So we're going to talk about the difference between those two, why we need to do both, and then a bunch of ideas of how to do them well. And then don't stop. That is super important. Don't stop. A lot of what happens with security champions programs, the biggest failure point is always just that people stop. They get so excited, they do lots and lots of stuff for 2 or 3 months, and they run out of steam. And then they don't get to see the full benefits of a program. One of my friends has been running one for 5 years, and he actually just went and found a new job because he said, this is going to sound crazy, but they didn't need me anymore. The champions could do literally all of the AppSec work, and my work here is done now. And I'm super proud of my friend. But anyway, okay, so who am I? So I'm Tanya, and we do these presentations or this slide about us for the sole purpose to try to convince you, I'm qualified to give this talk, you can trust me, I know what I'm talking about. So I founded my own AppSec training company, secure coding, all of that. I'm known as She Hacks Purple on the internet because I couldn't choose between blue team and red team, so I just did both. I wrote a book called Alice and Bob Learn Application Security. As of July of this year, I've worked in tech 25 years. That's a long time. I have founded all sorts of stuff. Oh, I forgot to put on here, I'm an advisor at a startup called Bright Security. Basically, I'm a nerd at large on the internet. That's what you should know. I'm a nerd that is really excited about securing software, and I try to do all the things I can to make that a reality. And so that is enough about me. Oh yeah, there we go. So now let's go back to the talk. So what is the problem that we're trying to solve? There are not enough application security people to go around. There's just not. Ask anyone at any organization, do you have enough AppSec people? Or do you need some more people to help you with securing your software? A thing that I find that happens a lot of organizations is you have one AppSec person and then 100, 200, 500, 1,000 devs, and that person's just exhausted every single day. And trying to hire a new one can be really hard. And so we could solve this problem in a lot of different ways. And the way I'm going to suggest is by creating a security champions program. So wait, here we go. There we go. So we know there aren't enough, so we need to scale. We can't hire 5 more AppSec engineers. Most companies just can't attract them and retain them. It's hard, it's difficult. And there are a lot of different ways that you could scale, like delegation, automation, etc. There's a bunch of ways, but this is Well, it's one of the most fun ways. So what is a security champion? So I'm going to give you the Gartner fancy definition. Then I'm going to give you the Tanya casual language, more understandable English definition. And okay, here we go. So I'm going to read it because I'm going to put a bunch of words on the screen, and all of us, we're just naturally trained to just read words when we see them. So I'll read it with you. A security champion is a member of a team that takes on the responsibility of acting as the primary advocate for security within the team and acting as the first line of defense for security issues. But in Tanya words, it's the person who's pumped up and excited about security. They want to read the book. They want to fix the bug. They ask all the security questions. They show up at your lunch and learn. They ask, can I borrow this book from you? Every single time you see this person, you're like, that's my person. We want to encourage all of those people. And we're going to talk about that. But this is the idea of what a security champion is. But let's get more detailed. Actually, let's go back for a second. If you have a question, you can put it in the chat and I can see it. And if it makes sense with that slide, I'll answer it then. And if it doesn't make sense till the end, I'll wait till the end. But just so you know, you can put questions in and I don't mind. Okay, so
I have a question.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that the security champion for you is, for example, when...
Oh, I can't hear you.
The host did something to me, I think. Now you can hear me, right?
Okay, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So does it mean that the security champion for you is responsible to do things like when there is a vulnerability showing up, that person is responsible to analyze it, or it doesn't mean something else for you?
Well, I'm going to tell you more in the few coming slides that are coming, but definitely it depends on your program. So usually what you do is you say, this is what I expect from you. These are the things that you're supposed to do if you're a security champion. And so you teach them how to do the thing, and then you start checking to make sure they're doing it. And then eventually they should be doing it themselves. And yes, definitely, like if a tool picks up a vulnerability, you want that security champion to make sure that that gets fixed. So I think I'm agreeing with you. But let me tell you more. And then ask more questions if you need to. And if you can put them in the chat, kind of helps me because then I can see like, oh, I know my next slide's going to answer that sort of thing. Cool. Thank you, Timo. Okay. So a security champion is your communicator. So this person is going to deliver security messages. So from the security team to their own dev team. So they might teach them the thing they learned. They might just share some news, or they might help them fix that security bug that the tool just found, or even just look at the security bug that it found and say, is that real? Let me check and validate. They're your point of contact. So not only do they deliver your messages to their team, they deliver important information about their team back to you. So they deliver messages back and they keep you up to date basically on what matters to the security team. Because there's lots of things that they do that it's not that we don't care, but it's not important to us. Like, oh, they're doing a week of backlog fixes and some of them will be security bugs. Awesome. Versus, they're planning this new feature that is very similar to the other features. There's no new technology. We've already talked, like they're already doing a good job. We don't need to check in because we know they know what to do. They're also your advocate. And so they will perform security work for their own team, but on your behalf, but they also advocate for security. So they will be that person that says, hey, I thought we weren't supposed to do that anymore. Or, oh, we're going to do that, use this new technology. Well, the AppSec team gave me this best practices. So we should follow that from the beginning to make sure, we're not in hot water later. When someone is on your team, so you're a software developer, you're an operations person, and this person is your peer, like they sit next to you or they're on your team, they're in your team meetings, usually you have a lot of respect for this person and their opinion because they are a fellow person that's an expert at what they do. And so when they say to you, hey, what are you doing? We can't do that thing. Remember the security team. It's different than when I come from the security team. I probably sit somewhere else on another floor, even in another building. And then I talk to them and I'm like, hey, I caught you doing this, like, nah. it's totally different experience for that person. And if someone is your peer and they tell you like, hey, we're supposed to do this, remember? It's totally different than when the security team does that. And so that's why it matters that they are advocating for security, not just you. So we want to build security champions. You don't just like grab a bunch of random devs and say, hey, you're a security champion now because you were late to the meeting, haha, and then expect them to do a good job. We have to find the right people and build them up into security champions so they feel confident, they have the knowledge they need, they know what's expected of them, and they're ready. And so we're going to follow this recipe, like I said. Like don't worry, I'm going to show it to you 400 times. Okay, so what is the recipe that we will follow? So we're going to start with recruiting. So recruiting champions, yes. The emoticon with the big yellow arm, because all of us apparently have yellow skin. Okay, so the first and most important rule of recruiting is that we do not volunteer someone to be a security champion. We don't say, you're late to the meeting, or you're the most senior person or the most junior person, or whatever other thing, so telling them they must be a security champion. Instead, we want to attract the right people. We want to attract people that are interested. And this might sound weird, but I would rather a junior software developer who's very excited about security than a senior software developer who's very experienced, lots of knowledge, but they don't have 5 minutes for me and they're not interested. And it's just, another task they have to deal with. I don't want that person. I want the person that's interested and keen on what I'm trying to do. And the second most important rule in recruiting is that management needs to be on board. So if the direct manager of your security champion is like, I don't have time for this, why are you wasting all that time with the security team, blah, 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 you have bugs to fix, stop doing that, then you've put your security champion in a really bad place, because their boss decides if they get a raise. Their boss decides if they continue to have this job. So they need to please that person. And then you're asking them to do other things, and now they're secretly trying to do work for you. That is not a place we want to put our champions. So we need management on board with this program. So how do we recruit people? How do we do that? So first of all, I ask for volunteers instead of appointing people. So if I give a lunch and learn, at the end I'll say, hey, I'm looking for security champions. This is what a security champion is. This is what we're looking for. This is, what we'll ask you to do and all the cool stuff we're going to teach you. Come and see me or send me an email if you're interested, and I'll tell you, everything you want, and you can decide. So invitations, literally sending someone an email and saying, hey, I saw you at the past 3 lunch and learns. You asked all these awesome questions. Maybe you would be a great champion. Did you know that I'm looking for security champions? There will be some imposter syndrome. So I've had this where really super smart humans, people where I'm like, you're awesome. Why do you have imposter syndrome? I don't get it. You're amazing. But they'll think that they're not good. And they'll tell you, well, I don't know enough. Yeah, that's okay, because I'm going to teach you. So make sure that if they feel oh, well, I don't know enough, I'm not sure if I'm good enough to do it, trust me, they are. If they're someone that you employ full time, they're not a dum-dum, because otherwise they would be your ex-employee or that person that didn't make it through the interviews, etc. So if the person is smart enough to be a good software developer, they're definitely more than smart enough to be a good security champion. And so make sure you reassure them if they seem I don't know if I'm good enough. Another thing is provide them opportunities to reveal themselves. So I try to communicate all the time out when I do security. So I show up at team meetings for the software developers and I'm like, hi, I'm Tanya. I'm your resident AppSec nerd. If you need to review a design, you should call me. If you're, going to release a new product, this and that, when you kick off a meeting, I would like to be there for your, project kickoff so I can help you set, get your requirements in order, etc. P.S. I am looking for security champions. Whenever someone asks lots of questions, whenever someone keeps messaging you or contacting you, someone that shows up to all of the things you're doing, someone Someone that took security training of their own volition, but who's not on the security team? Yes. Someone who is involved with the security communities? Yes. Anyone that shows an interest, try to spark that interest and send them a formal invitation. And by that, I mean asking them directly if they want to. A lot of people are like, well, I put up a note on the bulletin board and no one answered. I'm like, okay, was there anyone that you think might be interested? Oh yeah, there's these 6 people. Did you directly invite them and ask them? Well, no, like they get the point. No, they don't. You need to invite them. I'm saying this because over and over and over again, companies are like, oh, we thought it was obvious. An email directly to a person saying, hi, I think you'd make a good security champion, that's obvious. Putting a post on your intranet and not inviting people personally, that's not obvious. Okay, you can add it to your email signature. So I like to add things to my email signature, like I'm doing this on this day, or like I'm looking for volunteers for this or whatever. And so I'm looking for security champions. Is this you? Ask me how. I know someone that did that and 4 people answered him over the course of a month and 2 of them became champions. Yes. So whatever you can do to attract them and make them interested, anyone that you notice that has any interest at all, invite them. And then your new mantra as a security team needs to be a positive mantra. We are not the Department of No. It is our job to enable you to do your job securely. And when we have this positive outset, this also attracts a lot more people. If you are known as the Department of No where you work, you need to work on that reputation, I guess, before you'll be able to find a lot of champions. It'll be harder if you have that closed type of reputation, which some security teams have. It does not mean it's over. It just means you have a bit more of an uphill battle. So if you don't have enough people, it is okay at this point. So you have some people. So then you start the next step. And every step after this will continue to attract people as you gain momentum. So now we're going on to engagement. So let me tell you what engagement means. So we want to occupy, attract, and involve our champions in security activities. And we want to participate and become involved with them. So what does that mean, Tanya? So how can we engage them? We could bring one of them on a security incident. If there's a security incident with someone's application, invite them to join you, explain what need to know is, and bring them along because it will be educational and very, very it's like a fire hose of information and education very quickly to join a security incident. Share secrets with your security champions that you are allowed to share. So if you are allowed to share some things with this smaller group, do it because they'll feel like they're insiders, and it's because they are, right? It's like, oh, well, I know that we've actually had, 26% of our incidents are related to our app and we have this plan for this. Make them insiders with your team. Show them the cool stuff that you can show them. Let them see literally everything first. So if you're going to pick a new tool, guess who's going to help you? Your champions, or even the fact that a new tool is coming or a new policy is coming or whatever. You always want their opinion. You always want their feedback, and they should always know first. You can create a mailing list, which might sound silly, but sending an email to your 8 champions once a month saying, okay, next month we have a lunch and learn on this. I'm going to meet each one of you for my one-on-ones. And then also there's this podcast I listen to on the weekend and it has to do with Ruby and we all do Ruby and it was really cool. So I thought I'd send you a link. That's it. Once a month to make sure you continue to touch base. Other things, I meet with champions once a month to talk with them. So my friend Ray came up with this list of questions. Ray writes a blog called hellasecure.com. They're very, him and Aaron write it. They're both really super knowledgeable, very experienced. And he wrote a blog about security champions, my friend Ray, and he asks 3 questions. What are you working on? Where are you working on next? Do you need any help? And that just starts a conversation that can last up to 30 minutes where you find out all the things happening and that you need to know, and you're ready to help them with what they need. It's really fast. It's really easy. If they're expecting these questions each month, they'll be ready, and you get all the stuff you need. You need to brace yourself for potential bad news. Once I start having security champions, I started having situations where they would tell me things, and I'm not good at hiding my feelings. I really suck at that. And so I was like, oh, when they first told me about something bad happening. So if you react in a negative way, or you like freak out, like I had someone once ask me a question that was really not ideal, and clearly they did not, and I was just like, no. And then I caught myself, I'm like, everyone looked at me, I'm like, I mean, no, I cannot send you the risk register for the entire government. That would be inappropriate, but I can send you the ones that specifically involve your team, and we can make a plan to fix them. They like asked me for this like basically secret playbook. I'm like, what? So learn to be a bit more chill when you answer these questions, because they don't necessarily understand, and they're definitely not trying to scare the pants off you like that scared me. And just try to make sure you can play it cool. I am not very good at this, which is why I mention it. Try to do team building events so that they can meet each other, because that helps give them the social proof that they want to continue coming. So if they make friends, also then they can ask the other champions the answer if you're not available. I like to invite champions to communities like the Open Security Summit. Yeah, because then they can meet other people who are interested. So for instance, they're going to have another event next month. There'll be another speaker, and maybe it's something that has to do with what your organization is like currently having problems with, or one of your champions is having issues with. Invite them to the event, teach them about the community, teach them the places where they can learn the answers. Show them all your secret tricks. Okay, so next we want to teach them. And like, what are we gonna teach our champs? So I have a very important rule on this, and it is only teach them what they need to know. Don't teach them a bunch of extra stuff. I consult quite often on security champions programs. This is like, I guess, part of my business that has grown a lot over the past year and a half that I was not expecting. And a lot of companies, what they do is they'll send them on like, OSCP training, like how to do network hacking. And I'm like, do you expect them to hack networks as part of their job as a software developer? No. Do you want to turn them into pen testers? No. Why are you teaching them this? Like, there's only so much information information that can fit into each person's brain. And like sending them on an intensive 1 week network hacking course, like even though that's super cool and probably fun, they're not going to remember how to do any of that, and they don't need to do it as part of their job. And so sometimes like the security champions get kind of exhausted. And sometimes people will train them on all of these things that have nothing to do with what they actually want from them. So you need to tell them up front, this is what I need, expect, and want from you as a champion. So I need you to meet with me once a month to tell me what's going on with your team. I want you to come to, most of the lunch and learns. If you can't make one, you want to watch it later, that's cool. But I would like it if you could be there. I expect you to bring things to my attention if there's a security problem with your team. Like, make a list of exactly what you expect from them and teach them how to do those things very well. Give them examples, be very direct. So many times people are like, we're not getting what we want from our security champions. I'm like, did you actually explicitly tell them what you wanted? Well, it's obvious. No, that is a crap answer. And I hear it constantly. You have to tell them exactly what like, no one hires a person to their company and they're like, woo, do whatever you want. And then they're like, I'm not getting the results I wanted. Yeah, because you didn't tell them what you wanted. Like when someone's hired as a software developer, they're like, yo, I want you to code apps in .NET. and then here's requirements for the thing I want. And here's the dates that I would like to have it, et cetera, et cetera. You can't just expect them to read your mind, because you're not going to get what you want. 100% for sure, you will not. Okay, so other things to teach them are secure coding and architecture. So if they have to do software architecture, teach them how to design a secure app. Teach them design. If they need to do coding, secure coding. If they do some other software thing that I don't have on this list, teach them how to do that securely. So important. Teach them all your policies that apply to the work they do. So not like the boring acceptable use policy, like hey, don't run a server and sell dog collars from your computer at work because that's not acceptable use. They know that. Don't teach them that. Teach them your secure coding standard. Teach them, for serverless apps, these are the best practices. This is a guide that we expect you to follow. Teach them what it means. Don't send them a link and tell them to read it. Teach it to them because you will get much, much better results. And then lastly, tooling. Any tool that you expect them to do or to use, give them training on how to use it. Not only how to use it, but how to interpret the results, validate the results, and how to fix the popular things. It's really important that they look very smart in front of their peers when they are using the tool, showing off the things. So give them the insider information that they need to make sure they get it right. Briefly, I'm going to talk about coaching. So coaching is a style of teaching, and I find this works very well for me. This might not work well for you, but I'm telling you this because this is usually what I do when I have Security Champions program. I kind of take someone under my wing and I mentor them or I coach them. And so coaching means enabling individuals and teams to achieve their full potential, essentially. And so how do we do that? So for a champion, I want to set up office hours. So like I have this friend named Vane, and she used to do every single day, 9 to 10. Every single day, 9 to 10, she's available. Anyone needs her, she's in her office just waiting for you. She just sits there, answers emails. It used to be on Zoom, now it's in person. Just sit there, and she's like, 9 to 10 is packed every day. People are like, so you could just have a Zoom call that's open regularly, like Friday 2 to 4, whenever it is that you want to have it, to make sure you're available. Set up repeat meetings with them so that they know every month the check-in is this day. And if they move it, cool, you can reschedule. But don't let them miss more than 2 months in a row, because then you have no idea what's going on with their team. Help them prioritize their security bugs. Sometimes it says, hi, critical, absolutely, it's the end of the world in the tool. But for the way your business works or the way that app works, it's actually not very critical, and it's more like a medium or a low. So teach them how to understand that about their app. Teach them how to interpret the results. The hardest thing on this list, be available, because we're all, as security folks, there's always more security work to do. Always be available to them as much as you can. Help them set goals and then help them achieve them. Teach them specific tools or skills, especially if they ask. So like if someone asks, I want to know more about injection, like it keeps coming up in our tools. It's like, I'm told it's really scary. Like, can you show them how, give them a one-on-one lesson and like tutor them. And then they'll walk away being like, I'm an expert, I know about this now, and I can speak confidently to my team about why we absolutely must eradicate every form of injection. And ask them what they need and then provide it. So at the end of each session, like one-on-one, do you need any help? Take note and take it seriously, because if they actually ask for help, it's important, and you're the only one that can help them unless you have a bigger team and you can like maybe assign them to another security person. But don't leave them hanging, because whenever I do this with devs, guess what happens? They do stuff like roll their own crypto. They do stuff like, oh yeah, like we just take the credit card numbers and then we just pass it to Stripe. And so we don't need to be PCI compliant. No, you took the credit card numbers. Now we have to be PCI compliant. I don't care if you didn't save them. We're still, So when you don't make time for them, disasters happen. If they ask you an architecture question, you need to help them, because if you don't, you will not get what you want almost all the time. Okay, I have a special note on delegation. Some items you should delegate, especially to your security champions. This is not your job. You do not need to fix the security bugs. That is their job. Updating frameworks, planning releases, assignment of bugs, running every single scan, etc., etc. So like, delegate to them as much as you safely can. I make this mistake where I'm like, oh, well, it won't take me long, I'll just do this thing. And then they expect me to do that thing from then on. You need to draw a line in the sand so you can actually get your job done and not just have like a blazing list of things to do that when you look at it makes you cringe. So this is why you're training your champions, to help you with these things. but there's some things you should never delegate. So validating static application security testing results, if you have them, so I'm like changing my opinion as SaaS tools are becoming more modern, but basically train them first. Train them how to do this. Don't set them loose on it by themselves. It's painful. Teach them how, and then let them do it. Don't ever let anyone give security approval but you. They do not have that authority. That must rest with you. Using new tools before they have training, nope. Training new security champions. They can tell them lots of stuff, but you need to be the person that trains them. We are looking for partnership, not a replacement. Okay, next, recognize. So there's recognizing people and rewarding people. So recognizing is like in front of their peers, in front of their boss or whoever, saying, good job, you're awesome, thank you. Showing gratitude is a huge deal. Some people, that is very important to them. I'm one of those. I get a pat on the head from my boss and I'm like, ah. Other people find it very important to be rewarded. And a reward could be an hour off work. It could be that you bought them a book. It could be that they got $200. I was working with a company and they give devs $200 a year. And the devs loved it. Like 200 extra bucks? Hells yeah, I'm a security champion. They're doing so much extra work. But that $200 for some of them, that made them feel validated that it was worth doing. So it's very important to do reward and recognition to make sure that you kind of touch everyone's, like, make sure that they feel that you are grateful and that it's worth doing what they do. And so it is important to recognize champions because we don't want them to think they're doing two jobs for one paycheck and that they're not appreciated. Like this kitty, we don't want them to feel like this. So how do we recognize them? You can create a certificate and put it on their wall. You might think that that sounds cheesy, but I totally have piles of certificates. I just moved and usually I would have them up behind me. And I love it. It totally makes me feel good. And I don't care if other people are like, that's silly, but paper certificate, literally, I love it. Recognize them in front of their peers. So this could be a star next to their name in whatever chat that you have to say they're a security champion. It could be having a special virtual background that says like, boom, I'm a security champion. It doesn't matter. The point is that their peers see that they've been recognized from the security team as being knowledgeable and helpful. Make sure you put a note in their performance review thanking them. It is so, so important that on this permanent record that you have shown your gratitude, and if possible, give details about great things they did. Tell their boss every time they do something big. You know, Jeff called me and told me a few weeks ago about how, you know, he went to a meeting and these devs were like, it's too hard to use AD or Okta. Instead, we're going to write our own identity system. And then I went and I met with that team and I like just stumbled upon the meeting. And then I worked with them and then I got them to do the standard that we always do. And this could have been a huge disaster. And without Jeff, I wouldn't have been able to, I would never have known until I went to pen test it and it was a mess. And so I need to recognize him and say, thank you for this contribution because this could have been a disaster. And he helped me avoid that. Definitely every time in writing, especially send them an email and tell them, hey, you know how you told me that this thing, blah, blah, blah. I went and I checked with them and you were right. Thank you so much for telling me. I was able to help them and we solved the problem way before it got to prod. Thanks, buddy. It sounds silly, but it makes it such an important thing. And so do your best whenever possible to show them that. Okay, so next, reward them. So it doesn't have to be monetary. There's lots of different ways you can reward them. So what we are doing when we do this is we are reinforcing good behavior instead of punishing bad behavior. You get better results, like Pavlov's dog. Every time you ring the bell, you're like, I get a treat. We want to encourage everyone to do the right security thing. And so saying good job and recognize them and rewarding them will help us get that. So everything we reasonably can reward, do it. So you could give them a security related gift. So you could give them a YubiKey, a book, give them access to like Safari books online or Pluralsight or LinkedIn Learning, or send them on training, approve a conference for them, whatever it is. If you can give them a security gift, that's a double win because they feel rewarded and they know more about security. Yes. Giving them your time and undivided attention is a reward. When someone comes to your desk and you put down what you're doing and you turn your face towards them and your body towards them and you give them your undivided attention, that is a reward. Imagine coming to someone's desk and you have a serious technical problem. They're like, yeah, okay, what do you need? Yeah. That person is distracted. That's not a reward. That's not also very respectful, but that is not going to make them feel good and appreciated. Help them with more than just security. So my friend Ray, he used to do software architecture and then he did AppSec. And so he just helps them architect their apps if they're stuck. And he's like, they know they can count on me and I'll always help them because they're my guys. And just knowing that they can count on you for these other things that you know, or that you can help them, connect them with other people, etc. All of those things help build trust and make them feel valued. Let them see new stuff first, always. Let them help you make decisions. Anything you can think of that is a reward, do it. I worked somewhere once and they got everyone little Angry Bird stuffed animals. And I was like, you go into this part of the IT department, everyone had them like super proudly displayed. And I remember thinking it was really silly. Everyone loved them and you got like a bigger one or I don't know anything about Angry Birds, but you got better birds or whatever if you did whatever. And so years later, my team made this huge, amazing deadline that it was like really close and it was gigantic. So I made them all little pins that I handmade, and it said, it was a big gold star and it says, it works on my machine, because we kept not passing QA and we're having so much trouble. And so I made them those and they were like super touched and they all put them on display and they would wear them. And it cost me 99 cents per team member. And we had 5 or 6 people on our team, and like $6 to have everyone feel really good. And that is important if we want them to continue to be engaged and continue to work with us. Okay, so the very important part, very important, don't stop. So when in doubt, we must over communicate. If we do not communicate regularly with these people, they will disappear. It will happen very fast. I'm not kidding you. Like, oh, we did all these things for 3 months. Okay, cool. Then we did nothing for 3 months. What do we do now? Pick it back up. So how do we not let it slip? So as consistent as we can. So planning things way in advance, pacing yourself so that you can make it. Even if you just meet once a month to check in and you don't have any presentations, you don't have anything else, you're just having your monthly check-ins, that's good enough if that's all you can do for a while. Some champions are going to need more of your time than others. And some of them, they're just going to be okay. And they're always going to do the bare minimum. But that is way better than the 0 that you would have without your program. So keep this in mind, where some of them are like, you might be like, that one's really needy. Oh, then they need you. Just try to go with the flow and give them what they require of you. If you have accidentally dropped your program or your schedule, pick it back up as soon as you can. Even if you just send an email to them and say, hey, I'm sorry I dropped the schedule. I am picking it back up. Next month, we are definitely having one and it's going to be this day, so mark your calendars. And then you have a whole month to get ready. Culture is a practice. It must be repeated over and over again, and what you are doing is building a culture. You don't stretch once at the beginning of the year, and then at the end of the year, you're like, why am I so inflexible? Why are my muscles so sore? I stretched in January. It's only like October. You have to practice over and over again so that we can build that muscle memory in our brain. It will fall apart much faster than you think it will. So try to touch base regularly, even if you feel overwhelmed. Just sending an email to explain. So let's say December. So I live in Canada and we have every type of person in Canada because we are a country of immigrants. And so every single religion or every single major, very popular religion in Canada has something going on in December. So if you want to have an event in December, you've got to like be really careful to try to find a date where you're not messing up someone's vacation time. So sometimes I just send them an email and tell them like, hey, it's December. Happy holidays to everyone. If you're celebrating religious events, I hope that they're fantastic. This month, we're not going to meet because this. However, here's a video of a conference talk I saw that was amazing. And here's why I suggest you watch it. In January, we're going to do blah, blah, blah. Doing that shows them you are still on board. You're still interested, but you're trying to respect their time. So there's lots of options. Just please don't let it fall apart. You worked so hard to build it. Okay, so now we did it. We're awesome. So I'm going to summarize a few things for you, and then I'm going to give you a few free resources. So first of all, conclusion, what did we learn? How to attract people to your program instead of forcing them to be part of your program, what we should teach them, and how to reach them. I did not mean for that to rhyme, but it does. How to engage them, get them interested, and turn them into our advocates. What to delegate, what not to delegate, how to motivate them, and basically how to make a really awesome and amazing security champions program by following this recipe. Now I have some resources for you. So I have an online community that is free. There's no upsell or anything, it's just free. And we even have free courses in there now. So you can join the We Hack Purple community to meet other nice people and chat. If you want, you're all invited. Awesome books, not free. Unfortunately, the books are not free. So I love the DevOps Handbook, the Phoenix Project Accelerate, the Unicorn Project, and obviously I think my book's pretty rad. If you want to do security right, we need to do IT right. And I personally feel for software development that DevOps and adding automation wherever possible is right. And that is important if we want to do a good job. I have a podcast and it just started back up. We have so much awesome stuff that's going to be on this podcast. And so season 2 is going to be someone teaching us a short lesson in 15 to 20 minutes about something about security. And again, that's free. And you can watch it on YouTube or any podcast platform. You look up We Hack Purple Podcast and we will be there. Resources. So I have YouTube, I have a newsletter, I have like all sorts of stuff. If you want, go check it out. I am here for the community. This is important to me. So please feel free to like access my stuff whenever you want. And so with that, I want to end by wishing you a wonderful wish, in my opinion, which is that you spend your life doing strange things with weird people, because to me, that's the best life someone can lead. And I want to say thank you so much for your time and attention today. I really appreciate it. So, are there any questions? Because I didn't see any in the chat. Did I lose everyone? Are you still here? I see we have even more participants than before. Does anyone have any questions for me?
No, I wanted to say it was a great talk and I was listening, but didn't think of any questions because I was multitasking.
Thank you. And I get it. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for coming. If there are no questions.
I also have this a question.
Hi.
When you reward people, do you think it's a good idea to reward special actions or reward everyone in the same way?
I would say both. So if you can do one reward for everyone, so like let's say, so I've had a lot of my dev teams want Safari Books Online or lynda.com or Pluralsight. Like a lot of them really, really want that. They don't want to go off on training for a few days. They just want that, and they want to know that they can do an hour or 2 a week and then I'm cool with it. And so I give that to everyone on the team. Like, and you could give that to, like, if your security champions don't have something like that and they want it, so you want to check in before you pay for something, and give that, be like, this is a reward for the whole team for being champions, and then special rewards if one of them does something exceptional. Or if, let's say you have a training event and then there's a CTF at the end, and then like everyone that passes gets something, and then you like make sure everyone passes, if you know what I mean. Like you just like help and help and help and drag along whoever's behind, and then they win an award again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for coming, Timo, and thanks for all the awesome pins you helped me make back in the day. I still have lots of them.
Cool.
Does anyone else have any questions, or are there any more? I'm like looking down there to see if the chat's like coming up. Okay, Open Security Summit. I think it is your time to wrap up and take it away.
Thank you. Let me stop the recording thing. Thank you so much.